Right before that, they're like, "Oh, we're running really good on time, so you'll actually get an entrance." He never really said no. Austin Theory, Alan Angels, Tommy Maserati, David Ali. Those were like my closest peers when I was there. Being a finalist in the SCI tournament, that was the first time I started getting attention outside of my region. It was for Southern Honor. We knew AEW was coming. Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho made like a surprise appearance. I could take that championship and be trusted with it to go to other promotions. How many people can say that they can wrestle their spouse? I think I'm really happy with how my career went, and I'm very happy with my last match. And I still train a little bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, hosted by Coach C, Chris Sanders, this is Best for Business.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Another episode of Best for Business. I'm so pumped for this one. AC Mack, thank you so much for joining me for this one.
What's up, man? I'm pumped for this too. Appreciate you for having me. Thank you.
Now, I said it before the recording. I used to be a huge fan when I was 12 years old. So when you said yes, I was pumped. So thank you again for doing this.
No problem. That's so weird to hear when you're 12 years old. But yes.
One thing off the rip I'm curious about, the inspiration behind AC Mack. What would you say was like the inspiration behind it?
It was about maybe 2004 or 5. I had just come home from school, and I was always a WWE fan, but I found TNA, and AJ Styles was like the best thing going. How people look at Will Ospreay now is kind of how we looked at AJ back then. So even before I even decided to be a wrestler, I was using that as a nickname. AC Mack I would format it the same way that AJ Styles did because he was just so great, one of my favorite of all times.
Nice.
So yeah.
So one thing I gotta ask you, what was the inspiration for your gear? I loved it. At first, it was like the caution tape, right?
Yeah.
And then the bulletproof vest. But what's the inspiration behind it?
So the caution tape came from me like desperately looking for a theme, something that like stood out, something that like, when people would see it, they would think of me. And I remember, I guess it's not a good thing. I was riding around the hood in Atlanta, and there was a crime scene, and there was just so much caution tape. And I was like, it caught my attention immediately, and you knew something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I kind of like that reaction, or I want that reaction from the audience. Yeah. I want them to immediately know, that I'm coming out. I want them to think, oh, it's about to pick up. This is something serious. This is something striking. You notice it immediately. And so I just kind of hit the ground running with that. I knew there was, I think, Naito, I think, over in Japan.
Okay.
I think he was doing it too.
Yeah.
But I hadn't really seen anybody in America do it. So I thought it was, fresh for the taking.
Nice. And then the bulletproof vest, when do you add that?
I added that. I don't remember the year, but I was this is one of my first like consistent shows outside of the school, outside of the WWA 4. And I had a black Nike t-shirt that I would just come out with.
Yeah.
And the promoter pulled me aside and said, look, you can't, you want to present yourself as a star. Mm-hmm. You want to set yourself apart from somebody who's also wearing a black Nike shirt in the audience. And I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew that I had the caution tape. So it's kind of similar to like the emergency police stuff. And I always announced myself from the SWATs of Atlanta. So I was like, well, let me just get a SWAT vest.
Yeah.
A lot of my peers are like, I don't know, it could come off kind of funny, maybe kind of stripperish. And I don't know if that's not what you're going for, but I think we made it work.
So when you talk your career and learning from AR Fox, what would you say are like some of the biggest lessons you learned from him?
Oh my gosh. Everything was a lesson. He never really said no. Wow. Nice. Pro wrestling can be anything that you specifically want it to be. So even if you came at him with like a out, outlandish idea or whatever the case may have you, he had a way to tweak it or make it better,
Yeah.
or make it you. So no matter how crazy the idea was, he was very good at like molding it and like kind of honing in on what would you specifically do with this idea, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So when you talk about WWA 4, what are some top matches or moments that stick out to you?
Oh man, almost any match I've ever had with Austin Theory,
Yeah.
any match I've had with Alan Angels, Tommy Maserati. Me and David Ali had this fans bring the cameras, falls count any, no, last man standing match. That was one of my favorites. I always kind of go back to that when I reminisce. Yeah, I'm sure there's more, but those are like my closest peers when I was there. So those are what stick out to me the most.
Yeah. So one thing I told you about what I'm trying to do with this podcast, I don't think it's ever been
Yeah.
done before, interviewing somebody from every state. For Georgia, I'm curious, to you, what is like the wrestling scene down there like?
It's a lot better now.
Yeah.
I remember when I started training in 2016, I think there was only maybe two wrestling schools, maybe.
Wow.
Now there's multiple, there's promotions everywhere. It was not the same as it was back then, thank God. And then so many more minority communities are being represented now. So you have a lot more African American shows. You have a lot more LGBT shows. So that, especially in the South, that's a big deal because we're always, for whatever reason, slow to the ball. So to finally get these things going is great.
So when you said earlier that there wasn't many companies for you when you first started, was that like a challenge for you to try to get out like quicker in sort of a way to branch out and like grow more?
In hindsight, I don't think so. Like, I don't remember that being like a goal or that being like a reason. We were just so ready to like hit the ground running because things are different. Like before now, it took you a minute to get noticed by the WWE or to a lot of those people like Chris Jericho's of the world, the AJ Styles of the world. They were on the indies for 10, 15 years before they got to the E.
Yeah.
So in our heads, we were like, we need to we need to start as soon as possible because this 10, 15 years, that's going to be rough. And if there's any way that we can diminish that and get there quicker, that's what our goal was.
Yeah.
And I think Theory got there in 3. So
nice. Yeah.
For some of us, it worked.
When you look at your career, what would you say was like your first big opportunity, or if there's a few?
My first big opportunity. I would say being a finalist in the SCI tournament.
Nice.
In 2019. I think that was the first time I started getting attention outside of my region.
Nice.
And that was the first time where I didn't necessarily have to hit people up. A lot of promotions were hitting me up.
Nice. Yeah.
And it was a good position to be in.
Yeah.
You know, it gave me more leverage. And that was when I first started to realize like, oh, okay, I don't want to say I'm a big deal, but like things are happening. Things are changing. Yeah.
And then you go from that. So 2020, do they have a tournament or no?
No, they did. No, the pandemic ruined a lot of things. So they didn't have a tournament in 2020. They had another one in 2021. And that's the one I actually won.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you know in 2019 you were going to be in the one a few years later or no?
No. We didn't even find out who was winning till the day of. So
nice.
No, I didn't. I knew that they were planning to have one every year. And I knew that if I was still wrestling and still a part of the scene, that I would always want to be in it. But I had no idea. Yeah, no.
I'm curious. Do you have any FIP stories? Or how'd you get to FIP?
We got to, and that was actually the first indie show I ever did. Thanks to Fox.
Yeah.
Before I started wrestling, I had no idea what the indies were. And when we were training, Fox is just like, all right, we're going down to Florida. We're doing this show called FIP and blah, blah, blah. Usually, people would be excited, but I had no idea. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Our trainer says this is a great opportunity. We're going to go down there. I had no idea. The only thing I remember, I don't want to put them on blast, but we weren't able to really put the match together
Uh-huh.
until the very last minute. So I was freaking out. I'm very OCD. I'm very I
Yeah.
like to be prepared. And that day I was not prepared. I didn't have a vest or anything yet at the time. I came out with this ugly ass like cowboy vest.
Yeah.
It was rough. A
Wow.
lot of botches in that match. I do remember that.
But you learn
Uh,
from it, so it's fine.
yeah. And FIP is usually down. Well, at the time, it was down in Ybor City in Tampa.
Mm.
And I just remember that venue turning into a club right after all the shows.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Yeah.
That was great. Getting in for $6 every time you order a drink, they give you two at a
Nice.
time. I was like, this is amazing. This is heaven for me.
So you mentioned his name earlier. Do you remember that first interaction with Austin Theory?
The very first interaction, I remember thinking, dang, he's huge.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, dang, he's huge. He had already been there 2 weeks by the time when I came in for my first day.
Hmm.
And, just to see him in another ring running spots and like you could tell he was athletic. You can tell
Yeah.
by the way he moved. I remember thinking, oof, I don't know if I'm in the right place. I don't know if I can
Wow. Yeah.
because he just looked like he was made for this.
Yeah.
And a lot of the rest of us didn't look like that.
Hmm. So I'm curious. I remember looking through your career. It was even on Cage Match, and while I was going through your Instagram, you said it too. What was it like sharing the ring with Ricky Morton? Because was that like one of your first big opportunities?
Yes, it might have been one of my first. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Very crazy
Yeah.
because he's a funny guy. He means well, and his whole goal is to teach the youth.
Nice.
So I
Yeah.
was excited to be in there with him, and he was just hyping me up beforehand, making sure I wasn't nervous. He wanted to call it on the fly. He didn't want to call matches. And like I mentioned earlier, I like
Yeah.
to be prepared. I like to know what I'm doing. And he went out there, he held my hand, I thought it was really, really good. I was
Nice.
very happy with how it turned out. And I remember thinking, oh, okay, I can kind of chill out a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
I have a good base. I have good training. I have good people around me. And he's showing me that everything doesn't have to be so manufactured. Like you can go out there and breathe and kind of let the people decide
Yeah.
on what happens. So that was kind of the biggest takeaway from that match.
Nice. One thing I'm curious about, did you have much of the say of how you got to wrestle for NXT? Your name, Aaron Mackey or whatever it was?
No,
Okay.
no, I went so maybe a month or two prior to that, one of my
Yeah.
friends went down. And he was an extra. He didn't get used for a match. He was
Yeah.
just kind of a runner backstage and, security if we
Yeah.
needed. So when I signed up, that's what I thought I was doing,
Hmm.
and I had accepted that. I was like, oh, okay, it's cool. I'll still enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
And when I got there, they were like, oh, no, you have a match. Make sure you get your stuff. You're on the third show of the taping and blah, blah, blah. I started to freak out.
Yeah.
Uh, they told me, don't worry about a thing. It's going to be really, really short. We're going to come back from commercial break and you're going to be in the ring. He's going to make his entrance. Boom.
Yeah.
Right before that, they're like, oh, we're running really good on time. So you'll actually get an entrance. And I'm like, and I don't know. You see my stuff, like you said, like
Yeah.
I would come to the ring and just do my intro. I didn't really have an entrance.
Yeah.
I didn't even
Yeah.
like think to come up with that. I didn't choose the name or anything. I was shocked to see a Titantron during the entrance. I was like, oh, they made that. I didn't even,
Yeah.
it was all very fast paced. And I don't know. I'm glad I did it. It was very, very amazing. But no, I had no say so in anything.
A lot of people like wish they had a match in NXT. You got an entrance and everything. They even people wish to have something like that.
Right. I still had hair when that match
Yeah.
happened. That's what's crazy to me.
One thing I gotta ask you about, because this photo still blows my mind. I remember seeing it when I was in like middle school. What was
Yeah.
it like? I forgot the segment or how it happened. Didn't you do something like where you represented Kenny Omega's against like Team Chris Jericho?
Oh, yeah. That was for Southern Honor. And it was a triple threat match. Me, Alan Angels, and Shannon Moore.
Mm.
And that
What a
match
triple
happened.
threat.
Right.
I love it.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and I love the build up. That promotion is really good with promo packages and making their wrestlers really look like stars. So that was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. But yeah, it was right before, I think right before AEW was getting started, or we knew AEW was coming, but it hadn't hit
Yeah.
the ground yet. And Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho made like a surprise appearance because they were feuding at the time,
Yeah.
and they were like crashing this independent show, and it was just cool to be involved and just be backstage, like calling the segment with them and seeing how they interact and how they handle things. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's another highlight of my career for sure.
Nice. So when you look at your career, I'm curious, you've mentioned his name a few times, Alan Angels. What was it like?
Yeah.
Didn't you have like an Iron Man match with them?
Oh, I'm pretty sure I've had every kind of match.
Is there a match that stands out wrestling him?
We had a ladder match and a steel cage match in the same promotion, NCW, a while back.
Nice.
And they stand out to me because we learned so much about gimmick matches. It's one thing to watch them as a fan, but to be in the ring and to really see how they work, it's like, oh, this is a lot harder than they make it seem. But we made it through those. Those were really, really good matches. And those were matches that showed me like, oh, we have good chemistry together and we can like put an exclamation point on any story that we have with stuff like that. So those were always fun.
Yeah. So I got to ask you, I see it behind you. What does this mean to you? The Action Championship, the reign, 798, I believe.
Yes.
Over 15 defenses. What does that mean to you? Because you never really see things like that on the indies.
You never see anything like that on the indies. It was cool to see because, like I said, you don't see that on a regular.
Yeah.
And what I love, I'm a belt mark. So I love that I could take that championship and be trusted with it to go to other promotions and show it off and put more eyes, not only on that promotion, but on the South as a whole.
Yeah.
And that's a championship reign that it came around the same time as the me being a finalist in that SCI tournament in 2019. Yep. So both of those things kind of helped my stock rise.
Nice.
And I was very, very happy with that. And so when this fan made this life-size version of me, I had to beg him. I was like, please, please, please let me have it. And so now it's on my wall in my apartment.
Is there a match that stands out from the reign?
Ooh.
Because you got to take that all over.
Yeah. Man, that's a lot.
Yeah.
The first one that comes to mind is Masha Slamovich.
Nice. Yeah.
Who's with TNA now. And I didn't know much about her beforehand, but I had so much fun in that match. We brawled all over that place, and she hit the fuck out of me. And that's what I love the most. I was like, oh, this feels real. This feels like, I feel like I'm really in this. Like, it was a lot of fun. That's one of the ones that stands out to me the most. And the match where I actually won it, me, Ike, Slim J, and Alan Angels in a fatal 4-way elimination match.
Yeah.
That was cool because it reminded me of like the Attitude Era days. They would have matches like that, and I'm an Attitude Era baby, so it caught me immediately.
I know you said AJ Styles, but for the Attitude Era, who was like your guy, your favorite?
So my favorite of all time is The Rock.
Nice.
I came in as a child during the Attitude Era, and I know Stone Cold was like the main guy, but I was just drawn to The Rock. Nice. There was just something about him that made me a fan, that made me want to try this one day. And even though he's getting a lot of heat now, I don't care. That's still my guy, and I'm still excited every time he's on the screen.
Yeah. So when I look at your career, you've done some pretty cool things. So I'm curious, how did the opportunity for Evolve happen for you?
That's another connection that we had through Fox.
Nice.
He was signed to the promotion, and it was kind of like FIP. It was the same deal as FIP. Like, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, FIP was a feeder into Evolve.
Yeah.
And so I had a shoot job, or I had a real job at the time, and it was hard to balance that with wrestling. But whenever I was able to go, Fox would either have a van, or we would all like pick and choose whose cars we were taking. We usually would go to FIP and Evolve 2-3 cars deep. Just a lot of people from the school. It's one of the things I missed the most about the school. Everybody was pretty motivated. Everybody wanted to be involved. Yeah. So Yeah, that's how Evolved happened. I had a few matches with them. I would have liked to have had more, but with my schedule, it was hard to maintain that. And I don't think I was making the traction or impressing the Gabe and them like I should.
Uh-huh.
So I pivoted and started hitting the ground running locally and
Nice.
in this region. And that's how Actions came about. That's how
Yeah.
SCI came about. So I
Nice.
think it all worked out in the end. But yeah, if I wish I could go back and like hopefully try to impress them and have more matches with Evolve. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when you talk about branching out, this is where I think I was first introduced to you. How did Beyond Wrestling the Uncharted territory start for you?
That was through an agreement that Action Wrestling had with
Nice.
Beyond.
Nice.
We were trying to get more visibility down here. We were trying to get our guys up there more. So to go up there and do with that program with Layla Hirsch and Willie Yuta,
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun. It was good. I was so nervous because I was like, these people are not gonna know me.
Yeah.
I'm 12 hours away. They're not going to know me. But luckily, thanks to streaming, thanks to the internet, thanks to IWTV, that there was a very good reaction
Yeah.
going out there to Beyond for the first time. And coming up, man, those are some rough days because they were on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Wrestle Open is Thursday now, but Beyond, they were on Thursdays. And I still had my job and I wasn't able to get those Fridays off. So I would have to go to the airport after the show, take a red eye in the morning, land in Atlanta, get my car, fight traffic in the morning, and go to work the next day. It was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough.
But
Yeah, we weren't working from home back then.
But to go with that, I want to talk about this. The IWTV Championship, you're the 11th champion, but to see the lineage of the IWTV champions, I think it was like 281 days. What does that one mean to you? Because that's a prestigious title.
It's a prestigious title. And you know what? I don't like to ruffle any feathers, but I really think I had the best reign.
Nice, yeah.
When, the amount of time I had it for, even though it wasn't the longest, the defenses that I had,
Yeah.
and the moment that it created when I won it from Alex Shelley. I have always been in love with the pageantry and storylines of pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I always think that whatever it works because you put a little bit of truth in each story. The more truth, the better the story will be. And a lot of that story of me being the first openly gay world champion, of me, kind of holding the belt hostage in the South to make them to come to us. A lot of that stuff was how a lot of Southern wrestlers feel.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why it worked so well. So yeah, I'm really not, in real life, I'm not a bragger, but I do think I still have the best ring.
I think, that's one of the reasons why I think I gravitated towards you is the creativity you had. Whose idea was that? Yours, like to hold it hostage so the wrestlers would have to go to you? Because you don't see that anywhere.
So it was more my idea, and that I didn't really ask if we could do that. It was I just kind of said it. It came out of frustration of like, in order to be seen in wrestling, you had to either go Northeast or you had to go out to the West Coast.
Yeah.
And we were like, hey man, like we got talent down here too.
Mm-hmm.
And if you refuse to see it, we're going to hold this belt hostage and make you come to us so you can see it.
Nice.
That wasn't something that was planned. It wasn't something that I talked to them about. I probably should have, but it was more like I was just in the moment, the adrenaline from the match. And that promo was a lot more honest than people thought it was.
Yeah. When we talk,
I guess then people would have expected.
I want to ask you about your favorite, but first there's one I have to ask you off the rip. Wrestling Willow for the IWTV Championship and the rights to Uncharted territory.
Yes.
I love that. Was that your idea? Was that a bunch of ideas together?
I think that was a bunch of ideas together.
Nice.
We knew that Uncharted territory the next season was going to be in the South, but we didn't know how wrestling or storyline wise to like bring it down and make it make sense.
Yeah.
I forgot who pitched that to be on the line with Willow, but I remember thinking, oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect, because we had Ashton come up too, and he was able to cheat and help me win it. I was like, the way this is all falling in line is perfect. I couldn't think of anything better. And I love wrestling Willow. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. She is such a sweetheart. Everything positive that people say about her online is so true.
Yeah.
Yes, I miss her.
When you look at AC Mack's career, is there like an opponent or two that you think really like brought the best out of you?
Oh, I'm trying not to keep saying the same people.
Well, if they do,
Yeah, I mean, I just cannot mention Theory.
nice.
Uh, Fox, my trainer, I guess that's by default.
Yeah.
Um, Brought out the best in me, brought out the best. Slim J, who's
Nice.
another legend down here down south. Um, Hell, I'll even say Alex Shelley. We only had one match, but
Yeah.
he brought out the best in me because he forced me to step up.
Nice.
That was backstage. It was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of moving pieces, a lot of last minute things being changed and moved around. So, and to be able to have to go out there, still deliver, still give people what they wanted, still give the promo, still, that whole
Yeah.
segment. Um, Masha,
Nice.
I'm feeling Effie. Oh my God, Effie. I
Nice.
cannot forget Effie. And I'm sure there's more, but those are the only ones I can think of right now. Dang.
Yeah.
My husband, actually.
Nice.
My husband, that was a different angle. How many people can say that they can wrestle their spouse
Yeah.
or have a storyline with their spouse? That's different. So to be able to have to think about things differently and like I don't want to hurt you, but I also want to win.
Yeah.
Like that was a good I like that too.
Nice. So
There's more, but that's all I got.
when you
Sorry.
talk IWTV, is there a match that sticks out to you from that reign?
Yeah, well, we mentioned a few, the Willow, the
Yeah.
Masha, the Effie. Um, who else? Who else? There was a triple threat match with Trey Lamar and Cole Radrick. That was
Nice.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm forgetting his name. Dang it, I feel so bad. Out in Prestige on the West Coast. Oh, he's gonna kill me. His name, I'm drawing a blank. But that was a good
I'll
match.
find it. I'll put it in there.
Oh, there was a few, and I remember looking back and thinking, "Damn, like it's a lot of big names
Yeah.
in this reign." I'm very proud of it. The cruel one, even though I lost to
Yeah.
him, how that went down. Even though a lot of my peers were upset about it, I was like, "That is the perfect way for a chicken shit heel who hates hardcore matches to
Yeah.
lose his championship." So that one, I don't know. I had a lot of really, really good favorite ones. I feel like I'm missing a lot, but those are the ones that come out to mind now.
When you talk about being a chicken shit heel who hates hardcore matches, when you wrestle Atticus Cogar, fans bring the
Yeah.
weapons. What was like the wackest or craziest thing someone brought?
There was like a buggy, a shopping cart of like just random items, right? Just
Yeah.
anything you can think of, but everything had tax on it.
Wow. Yeah.
Everything. I was like, I'm not. Oh, I was so mad that was a storyline because I'm not hardcore at all. I'm not deathmatch at all. That's just never been my lane.
Yeah.
And I tried so hard to steer the furthest away from it.
Nice.
And Jerry was hell bent. He was like, I want a champion that's gonna bleed. I want to make you. So I was not looking forward to that. So and I saw that. I remember thinking, oh, I'm not using that shit.
Yeah. How did GCW come to be?
GCW kind of like Evolve and FIP. It was
Yeah.
another thing through Fox.
Nice.
By this point, I had a little name for myself. I had built some stock for myself. So I didn't have to go directly through Fox this time. People knew who I was. And, I was able to reach out for things like For the Culture, Effie's Big Gay Brunch,
Yeah.
and a lot of stuff down in Tampa. So that's kind of how that came about. That was a lot of my legwork that time of just me reaching out and saying, hey, like, this is what I have to offer.
Yeah. How did the idea with you team with Ashton happen? Because you were doing that for GCW for a little bit.
Yeah. It was me and Ashton. He's another guy here from Atlanta. We had the same perspective. We see a lot of things similarly. He trained at the same school as me. We're really good friends. We still hang out to this day.
Nice.
I think we got put together out of not chance, but just like it just fit for the moment. It was like they know each other, they'll have good chemistry. They're out of the same territory. and it happened to click better than I think they even predicted or we
Yeah.
even predicted.
Yeah.
So we were just like, we'll let it ride and see what comes of it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah. I think that's how that came. It was just like, let's just kind of put them together since they know each other, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
So
it ended up working.
when we talk your career, you've accomplished so much, so it still blows my mind. Well, when did the idea officially of retiring or not like doing it anymore come to you? How long was that like in the vault for?
Oh, and I hate to say this, but 2021,
Hmm.
the summer of 2021 is kind of where I was like, I think I need to make some changes.
Now,
I
when did
think
you win the tournament? Because wasn't that 2021?
yes. So
Wow.
it was the summer of 2021 where I started to say, hey, I think I want to dip out. And
Wow.
then I won the tournament. And then I won the IWTV strap. And I remember telling at the time he was my boyfriend. I remember telling him like, hey, like I know you're just coming in and I don't want to taint your vision or perspective of what this industry is, but I guess I'm burnt out. I kind of want to get my real life together and just the amount of sacrifices that you have to do to make this work and the amount of more sacrifices
Yeah.
you'll have to make just to even get in the door in the big leagues.
Yeah.
It started to weigh on me heavily. And I was like, well, I don't know. I'll just kind of see what happens. And good things kept happening.
Yeah.
It was then I won the tournament and then the belt. And I was like, all right, well, I'll just ride this wave until it kind of fizzles out. And when it
Yeah.
starts to, then I will, finally let people know that, hey, actually, I'm ready to be done. Yeah.
Yeah. That's and then you were doing what was it? I remember you had two loser leaves slash like loser leaves matches you had.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So the promotions that I did on a regular here in Georgia, I wanted to let them know that, hey, I'm finishing up, kind of just want to be done. I wanted to give them that respect instead of just saying, hey, peace out.
Yeah.
And they both kind of were on the same page about, okay, well, let's make this into a program. We can do a loser leaves, whichever promotion. And
Yeah.
I agreed. I did two of those. And then for action, he wanted a speech.
Hmm.
I didn't want to give a speech. I was
Yeah.
very much like, I kind of wanted to just kind of dip out quietly,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just be a regular person.
Mhm.
And Matt, the promoter over action, was like, unfortunately, you're in a good position. It was a good issue to have, basically, of you've done enough to the where you can't just slip out
Yeah.
quietly. You gotta let the world know. And he was right. He was right. It just felt so awkward to do, but
Mhm.
he was right. Yeah.
So for someone who wants to call it eventually, you said in 2021, what did it mean in 2022? PWI 500. What were you ranked like 25?
Yeah.
That's like one of the top indie names I think of that year. So what did that mean to you?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's been broken since, but at the time, that was the highest ranking that an independent wrestler had ever
Wow.
had.
Yeah.
So, still making history. And I'm sitting there in 2022 and I'm like, I must be doing something right,
Mhm.
but my gut is still telling me that it's time to move on. It's
Mhm.
time
Yeah.
to put this to rest before you overstay your welcome. I don't know. I was very torn. I was very happy, but at the same time, just very like aware
Mhm.
of what was going on, my surroundings, how I was feeling. And I felt like I was letting a lot of people down because a lot of people who supported me, a lot of people who were fans of me, I knew that they had expectations of seeing me on the big screen. And I wanted to do that for myself. I wanted to do
Yeah.
that for them, but I don't know. I just knew that, my time was up. I knew that a lot of other people wanted it a lot hungrier than I did.
Mhm.
And I just kind of felt in the way.
Wow.
I kind of felt in the way. So I was like, I'll step aside. Yeah.
What was your first interaction with Rico?
It was at an action show,
Nice.
actually. They do a show called Next Up before
Mhm.
the action show. It's kind of like the NXT 2 action,
Nice.
to where a lot of local talent, a lot of up and coming talent who were trying to get the attention of Matt in action,
Mhm.
instead of sending tapes or sending YouTube links, like
Yeah.
you can go and perform there, like on the pre-show, basically.
Nice.
And that's how I saw him. He was out of the WWA 4, so he was with a lot of the new guys, but this was after I had already left the school, so I didn't know him at the time.
Yeah.
And he had a triple threat match with Ash Bennett and somebody else. I can't remember who it was, but I just remember thinking, who is that?
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen him before around. Like, who is that? Who is that? And after the match was good too. So after the match, I wanted to, give him critiques and tell him it was good and slip my way in and introduce myself. But they left to go get something to eat, and I couldn't find him anywhere. But somebody mentioned his name and that he was from the 4, so I kind of did some research on Instagram and found him that way.
Yeah. So when you talk your career, you had these loser leaves matches or however the stipulation was. Were you ready for this match with Rico to happen? Were you ready for your career, everything else you did?
Ooh. I was ready to be done.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for the match with Rico. And I say that because I was so nervous. I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted the match to be great. I wanted our chemistry to be great. It was my last match ever, so I didn't want to go out on something, I didn't feel that I lived up to my best potential to. I was a nutcase. I was a basket case. But I'm so happy that it went well. Nice. It went just as we planned, just as expected. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I'm very, very happy with it.
So I know we covered a lot. Is there any other matches you talk about, some of the highlights of your career that stick out? Like top ones?
A match I had a long time ago at Fox at the old WWA 4.
Nice.
I mentioned Slim J. I mentioned Effie. All of the Angels matches. The triple threat with Shannon Moore was cool.
Yeah.
I think I have. Fred Yehai.
Nice.
Wheeler Yuta, the tag match.
Yeah.
The finals to the SCI tournament that I won, being in there with Daniel Garcia was nice.
Yeah.
Anything I did with Daniel Makabe. We had a little rivalry here. So, I mean, the Beyond matches were fun. That crowd was always rabid, man. I loved being a heel in that Beyond crowd. It's a lot. I'm very, very blessed to have such a short career of 7.5 years, but to be so proud of it, to be able to make history, to have fun all throughout, and to have these really good matches. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in those 7 years, you've accomplished so much. Do you genuinely think, because wrestling retirements don't exist, do you genuinely think you're done, or do you miss it at all at times?
I miss the camaraderie. Okay, I miss being at like a really small dive bar show with some really hard hitting action. I miss that. I still go and support my husband at his shows.
Yeah.
I'll do commentary for shows if they ask me, a little here and there. I don't miss putting matches together. I don't miss the bumps and the injuries or the bruises, but I miss, I don't even want to say I miss being around it, because I'm still around it.
Yeah.
But I do miss those long car rides.
So is AC Mack ever going to have one more match?
I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. They say never say never, so I won't say never. But I think I'm really happy with how my career went, and I'm very happy with my last match, being with my husband and going out that way. I really don't want to taint that, so I highly doubt you'll ever see me in the ring again. I still train a little bit, just to stay active, not to stay fit, but just to, just to be active, but nothing coming up. No.
Yeah. Well, AC Mack, I want to thank you for joining me. However, I've ended every interview the same now. The day you decide it's finally done in pro wrestling, so we're not going to say now because there'll be another match, but the day you decide it's all done in pro wrestling, what do you want AC Mack's legacy to be?
I want a few things. I want people to remember that I did things my way.
Nice.
I want people to remember that I was the first openly gay world champion in all of pro wrestling, sanctioned world champion. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I want people to know that at the time I was the highest ranked independent or highest ranked wrestler in the world, independent wrestler in the world. I was able to do a lot of beautiful things through pro wrestling. I was able to meet my husband through pro wrestling. So I will forever be indebted to pro wrestling. Not as a match, but forever indebted to pro wrestling. So all of those things, that's what I want to be remembered by. Yeah.
Nice. I want to thank you so much, AC Mack. I reached out. You reached out right away. I'm so glad we got to make this happen.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for still wanting to do it, even though I'm retired.
Absolutely.
I was there. Very pleasant of you. Thank you.
Thank you for doing this. And thank you, everybody, for watching this episode. This was Best for Business.
Thank you for watching this episode of Best for Business. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, because this is Best for Business.